Good afternoon, everybody. This is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. And for the first time since, well, a long time, I'm going to talk. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about Donald Trump and what appears to me to be a shift in the general demeanor of Trump himself. He's trying to pull from an old playbook, like it's always been the case with Donald Trump, that he can do or say whatever he wants to say, and the people that support him would look the other way. They would make exceptions. They say, yeah, well, yes, less and so, but he's advancing my policies, or he's going to make my life better, or he's doing the things I want him to do, or whatever. It's really starting to feel like America, however you want to evaluate it going forward or in present day 2025, seems to draw the line at pedophiles. Now, Donald Trump ran on a platform that suggested that he was going to bring transparency to the White House, as if somehow from 2016 to 2020 that wasn't a thing. He says he's going to release the JFK files. He's going to tell us all about the aliens. He's going to release the Epstein list or whatever. But if you notice, when he talked about the Epstein list, yes, well, they asked him about the JFK files. Like, yeah, I'll release the JFK files, everything. It's like, well, you released the Epstein files. Like, yeah, but maybe we should move on from that, whatever. He said yes, but like it was with a but. It was like a but maybe. And then I think that people in the moment said, oh, he's going to, I don't think anybody had any reason to believe that he was associated with pedophilia in any way. Oh, he's friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sure he had a lot of friends. Maybe he went to rendezvous up to Epstein Island. Maybe he didn't. He definitely did. But that's not necessarily the fact that he had communications, had taken trips with Epstein does not implicate him for pedophilia, does it? It just means that he was friends with the guy and they did things, right? But the angrier that he's gotten in light of these recent revelations with respect to the Epstein files, the closer that people want to look into that direction, he's starting to unravel a bit in a way that was a little bit unexpected, in a way that makes you look at the guy sideways, in a way that maybe suspects that not only is he probably on Epstein's list, oh, but there's not supposed to be a list, right? But maybe he participated in some of what Epstein had on offer. Maybe. There's a reason why he doesn't want people looking at it. Now, it's insulting to the intelligence of Americans, red or blue. Even my good friend, Brad, who's been on my show a couple of times to debate me on issues red versus blue, is uncomfortable with this idea that Trump is running so far left from the Epstein files that he promised he was going to deliver. Pam Bondi literally said, I got the Epstein list, I got the files, they're right on my desk. And all of a sudden, oh, there's nothing there. They never existed, whatever. Obama wrote them. Biden wrote them. It was a conspiracy, the Russian theory hoax, the Russian hoax theory, whatever bullshit. It doesn't matter anymore, right? This is just a brief timeline of events. February 9th, in his State of the Union address, President Trump pledges to finally reveal the full truth of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. He said that at the State of the Union address. Maybe he didn't think that he was going to be in there. Maybe he saw that he was in there and he changed his mind. I don't know. But a few weeks later, February 27th, Pam Bondi announces the first phase release of the declassified Epstein files, making public an evidence list, Epstein's flight logs, his contact book, and other previously leaked records. Bondi says that there's more documents that are going to be reviewed for release, and then demanded that the FBI turn over all remaining Epstein case files by the next day. So we're building some momentum, right? And all the while, I'm guessing maybe that was like a ploy to distract from like the tariffs and all of that situation that was getting all the bad publicity way back then in February. Between the months of March to June of 2025, behind the scenes at the DOJ, the FBI officials, They review tens of thousands of Epstein-related documents. They publicly, while they're reviewing those tens of thousands of documents, virtually no additional information emerges from that 3-month investigation. July 6, 2025, just a few weeks ago, Department of Justice releases a memo summarizing the Epstein investigation as there's no list, there's no client list, there's no evidence of Epstein blackmailing VIPs, there was no foul play in 2019, there was no murder, he killed himself. There's nothing to see here. The administration also releases jail surveillance footage where it appears that the crucial moment, the 1 minute space where Epstein's life was lost, just disappears. Metadata scrubbed. And we're just supposed to believe, yeah, let's just move on. There's nothing to see here. Insulting the intelligence of people that have been interested in prosecuting these guys and going after Epstein's list because we don't like pedophiles. That obviously receives an enormous amount of backlash, like bullshit, and not even from just Democrats. I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene gets up there. Tucker Carlson has things to say. Megyn Kelly has things to say. Now, there's some snively little twats over there still defending Trump. What's that guy's name? Guys like Ben Shapiro, who can't help themselves, is defending him at all costs. And, maybe if all these, he just debated Megyn Kelly. And Megyn Kelly's like, well, look, you got all these people that have all this information. They don't want to come forward because obviously there's going to be backlash there. And he's working. There's a reason why people employed by the Trump administration are being silent. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose their family. They don't want to potentially disappear. And Ben Shapiro's like, yeah, well, bullshit. If they got information, why don't they come forward? They owe it to the American people to come forward. And he has like this smug look on his face. And so it's funny. When you mess with Ben Shapiro's money, he's all up in arms about it. When you try to get him on to speak negatively about potential pedophiles, he has nothing to say, right? But whatever to that. Moving right along. In addition to Ben Shapiro, never mind him, you have MAGA influencers, some Republicans. You had Anna Paulina Luna. She denounces the lack of new information in the Epstein files. Ron Wyden publicly urges the administration to release Epstein's financial records, claiming that investigators found evidence of 4,725 wire transfers totaling over $1 billion through one of Epstein's linked banks. That gets shot down. The Treasury Department basically calls them a liar. Yeah, that's a mischaracterization. It was a pathetic political theater. There's no hidden files. There's nothing to see here. Whatever. Move right along. July 17th. This bombshell report. Fast forward to July 17th. This bombshell report comes out from the Wall Street Journal about Trump's lewd 2003 birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein. And in that letter, he refers to Enigma. Enigma happens to be an anagram for the word gamines, Gamines, which basically refers to young girls with a boyish look. So when I read you the exact text of that letter, keep that in mind. In that letter, this is what happens. In quotes, there must be more to life than having everything. Donald Trump. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is, Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald Trump. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey. As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. And holy shit. That is disgusting. Here's the thing. When he released the JFK files, he did it comprehensively. He said, here it is. Dig through them. He just released the evidence. There was no smoking gun. It didn't lead to like the full identification of who was the JFK shooter. There was nothing like that. But what he did was he just released it all for public consumption. There was lots of content creators. They got a lot of content out of it. They analyzed it. They broke it down, and we were left with many of the same questions, right? That was it. Now he's saying, oh, there's nothing there. But rather than just releasing all of the evidence, like he said he was going to do, he's saying that, look, if you believe this nonsense, why are you still asking me about Jeffrey Epstein? He's been dead for a long time. He was a bad guy. You're a weakling. You're a bad person. He's literally speaking out against his supporters that want to see the Epstein files. You're playing right into the Democrats' game. This was a hoax written by Joe Biden. Obama wrote the Epstein files, just going on, carrying on, insulting the intelligence of people that simply wanted to seek justice. And when you go about it that way, number one, I'm suspicious of what level of involvement you might have within those Epstein files, what identifying markers, what other letters. And I gotta imagine that this letter that was released is probably the tip of the iceberg. Imagine if there's videos, imagine if there's bank records, imagine if there's got to be something in there that he's afraid of. And one name that has surfaced as of recent is this young lady, Katie Johnson. If you could recall, way back in 2016, she's a young girl. She went by the pseudonym Katie Johnson. She accused Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein in explicit detail of SAing her as a 13-year-old. And by the way, these allegations were never substantiated. They remain dormant to this day. There's nothing that ever came of that. And a lot of that is because the original lawsuit that was filed mid-2016, it was voluntarily withdrawn by the accuser herself in 2016. And just before the election, there are allegations that she had received death threats, that she was receiving all kinds of she was receiving death threats. Deaths just before the election, November of 2016. She allegedly is receiving death threats that spurns her on to voluntarily withdraw her lawsuit. No charges are ever filed. The woman's never revealed to be her public identity. I've seen some social media put it out there that she just disappeared off the face of the earth, that inferring that maybe she was disappeared and because she had too much information, because she tried to come forward as a way to maybe silencing some future potential victims that also might want to come forward. I don't know. Whether or not he did that or not, you could judge for yourself. It's worth noting that Johnson alleged this assault dating all the way back to 1994 at an event that was hosted by Jeffrey Epstein. And if that's true, that would be a direct tie for Trump directly to Jeffrey Epstein abusing minors. And if there's information out there like that, and it's more than just this Katie Johnson young lady, then you can see why he is pushing so vociferously against the release of additional information. And so what is your opinion about this? Do you want us to go further with it? Is it enough to just say, oh yeah, we've been investigating this since 2009, but there's nothing to see here. There was no Epstein list. There was no financial tie-ins. He killed himself. Case closed. Over. We're just going to let's just pretend this didn't happen. Or what if he said, okay, fine, close the investigation, but could you at least release the evidence so that we can take a look and see for ourselves? The problem is the stuff that they've released has been tampered with. They scrubbed the metadata from the surveillance footage in the jail cell where Epstein was held. Just that one camera. There was like over 11 different cameras in that facility that were functional and working. That's the only footage that exists. And the ultimate moment that you were looking for has been scrubbed. And the metadata doesn't exist so that you don't know when it was scrubbed. What are we to think? If you're asking me, I don't like it when people try to insult my intelligence, and I have to infer from that Donald Trump must be a pedophile. And if he's not a pedophile, then release the freaking files so we can judge for ourselves. And if we get the files back and it's obvious that they've been tampered with and scrubbed, then what am I to think? What am I to think? I'm not an idiot, and neither are you. And so that's all I got for you right now for the Epstein case. We're going to be doing some FLAD later on this afternoon. I'll be joined by the usual crew and maybe some others. We'll see about that. But I love you folks and have a wonderful weekend. If I don't see you on FLAD, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.